Welcome everybody to Microsoft and Azure webinar, where we're going to be unlocking some security power of Azure, of course, presented by me, Angie at BI 101 and AppDirect. For introductions, there being me, Angie Moreno. I'm your local technology advisor, help you and your whole team get IT handled. Joining me today, I have Rafael Chavez. He's our Azure specialist here at AppDirect. And a little bit of background, Rafael has spent 3 years in Microsoft sales for Azure and modern workspaces. He is the guy to go to when you have Azure questions. So we're your team here to help. And today we're going to be talking about Microsoft Azure. We're going to touch on the ecosystem, do a little Azure overview, give you some best practices for cloud success, show you where Azure fits, and then, of course, some real-world use cases, security tools, compliance, and then where Azure fits in AppDirect, how the whole system works. All right? So, guys, when we talk about the Microsoft stack, we want it to be all-encompassing. We want it to be a full block that works for you. This includes the Cloud Foundation, your add-ons, your desktop apps for collaboration, and of course, security, that layer that sits right on top to completely protect your entire tech stack. And then I've made you guys a little web, just some info here. When you think about the Microsoft 365 stack, it is a whole web of products, from Entra ID, Intune, your foundation for security, of course, Copilot, your AI assistant, project and planning tools like Planner and Visio, and then, of course, the infrastructure, the automation, Power Platform, Exchange, and then Azure, what we're talking about today. And with that, Rafael, what is Microsoft Azure?
Thank you, Andy. So, yeah, definitely. Microsoft Azure is a comprehensive cloud computing platform, right? And there's over 200 products that are covered within Azure, right? These are products and services that are designed to help companies build, run, and manage their whole infrastructure in the cloud, right? Now, what does this look like, right? Maybe you're a small business and you're trying to not having end-of-life servers and you want to move your infrastructure to the cloud to make it easier, then Azure is for you. Are you a big company trying to scale up, right? Do you have multiple locations? You need a lot of security, you need redundancy. You may need backups for your company infrastructure, right? If your servers go down, then Azure is also for you, right? And with that being said, there's 3 main terms that are used in the cloud world. So it's important that we know them. The very first one is infrastructure as a service, right? You may see it as ES in writing, right? But the meaning is infrastructure as a service. And what does this look like, right? We're looking at services like, let's say you want to replace your IT, servers, right? You have 5 servers in your company, and you want to have them in the cloud and use Azure's servers, then that's infrastructure as a service, right? Also, platform as a service, it's known as PaaS. These are cloud software that you use every day. Gmail, for example, is a platform as a service. Outlook is a platform as a service. There's a lot of services. Even your 365 is a platform as a service offer for Azure. Also, software as a service. Now, this is for particular programs that instead of having a client installed in your computer, you use everything from the cloud, from the web, right? So that's software as a service. We can go on the next one. Yeah. Now, why Azure makes sense, right? The very first thing is global reach, right? You have 60 plus regions internationally, right? This is more than any other cloud provider. Just to give you a perspective, we have data centers in all major regions of the world, right? Data centers in Europe, data centers in Africa, in Asia Pacific, America, of course, all regions, Azure has you covered, right? Microsoft makes big investments to have these data centers worldwide. That is why I go to the next point, which is enterprise trust, right? We offer you 99.9 SLA with comprehensive compliance certifications. Now, what is SLA? SLA is service level agreement, right? That is a commitment Microsoft Azure makes for the clients, right? That their service will be online 99.9% of the times, right? So just imagine, right? A service you can trust, right? It's hard to find nowadays, but yep, Microsoft Azure offers you that. Also, you have a hybrid flexibility. Let's say you're not ready to go fully cloud yet because you have apps that you designed to be on premise, right? You have old systems and you may not be ready just yet. Then Azure can give you a combination of hybrid and on premise flexibility, right? For instance, let's say you just want to move one server to the cloud and connect it with your on site infrastructure. That is possible. That is possible with Azure. Also, cost efficiency, right? Azure has pay-as-you-go rates, which means you pay for what you use, right? You don't pay for any service that you're not using, only for what you use. And you can apply reserve instances discounts up to 72%. What does this mean? Reserve instances are when you commit, let's say that you have a server and you know you're going to use it for the next year, then it makes sense to put it on a reserve instance because Azure can give you a discounted price on the service that you're already planning to use, right? Now, the same thing applies if you know that you're going to be using this for the next 3 years, then you can also do a reserve instance and have a reduced price for 3 years. Now, innovation, right? As you know, Microsoft likes to stay on top of all the new updates on technology, right? We like to be leaders, right? So you have AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, right? What everybody is talking about, right? Machine learning and AI. Microsoft is leading on that. Now, IoT services. Now, these are Internet of Things services that are integrated into the Microsoft Azure platform. Now, what is an IoT device? An IoT device is your everyday devices that use the internet, right? So let's say you have your Alexa, you have your smart fridge, your smart kitchen, right? You have everything that's smart is using some kind of cloud technology to connect with you and the internet, right? So this is what we mean when we refer to IoT services. You can go on the next. Now, what are the core services that are offered within Azure, right? The first one is compute, right? When we think about compute, we're looking at your virtual machines, your app services, and Kubernetes, right? So everything related to servers, everything related to virtual machines, Azure remote desktop connections, Azure virtual desktops, all of this is called compute, right? Now, the second core service that we offer is storage and data, right? So you can, in this one, you can use SQL servers, right? SQL, Cosmos DB for your databases, and blob storage, right? Now, blob storage is just like if you, let's say before, you used to have a hard drive to store your information. Now you can store it in the cloud, right? So it's a virtual hard drive that you can have, right? That's blob storage. Now, we are also big in networking, right? So your infrastructure needs security and it needs connectivity, right? So that's why we have VNets, right? Those are virtual networks, load balancers, CDN, and Express Route. Those are different connectivity offerings that Azure gives you. Then we have AI and analytics, right? And for this one, we have Azure AI, Synapse, which is a security offering, and machine learning. As you know, Microsoft invested in OpenAI when it was just coming out, right? So we have all of their systems that are integrated into the Azure AI offerings. You can go on the next one.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, AI is the big topic this year. So we're always happy to hear that Microsoft is taking it seriously and integrating it throughout the platform, especially when it comes to our security. So Raphael, I'd love to hear more best practices. What should people be doing in order to secure their Azure and make it work for them?
Yeah, definitely. Best practice number one, right? So we're looking into a well-architected framework, right? I know a transition of going from on-site infrastructure to the cloud. It can be concerning, right? Because maybe we have an IT admin that has never done a migration, right? Or we do not know where to start, right? Then in cases like this, you can talk to Angie, right? And she will contact AppDirect so we can get you specialized support, right? We can get you cost optimization support, right? Give you guidance and tips for managing your cost management, right size and resources. You know, sometimes there are some resources that do not need to be on all the time, right? For instance, if you have a server that is on 24/7 and you're paying for it, but your company only works business hours, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, then it makes sense to turn it off at 5 every day and also on the weekends, right? And this gives you significant savings. Now you can leverage reserve instances, right? Like we explained earlier, right? You can do the 1 year or 3 year reserve instances, and this will give you excellent discounts, right? For services that you know you're going to be using for 1 or 3 years, right? Another point to consider is the operational excellence, right? You can implement infrastructure as code, right? You can automate deployments or use Azure DevOps, right? Now, when we say automate deployments, right, let's say Azure offers you templates for virtual machines that you can use, and you can automate them to deploy at specific times, right? As also you can automate when the VM turns off and turns off again and turns on again, right? All of those things can be automated to give you flexibility in operations and also on cost optimization. Now, performance efficiency, right? Azure uses CDN for global content. Now, what is CDN? It's a content delivery network, right? So Azure implements caching and optimizes database queries, right? This is very important for services like Fabric, Power BI, your SQL servers, right? That need to be optimized. Azure has you covered. Now, reliability, right? We need to design as an infrastructure that is designed knowing that at some point there might be failure, right? So you need to use availability zones and implement health monitoring. Now, what does this look like in the real world, right? You can use Azure backups, right, to back up your infrastructure, and Azure site recovery. This will allow you to bring back your infrastructure in a matter of minutes in case for some reason something goes down, right? Let's say you are on premise. Oh, I'm so sorry. I
Sorry
wasn't
about
gonna
that.
cover. Yeah, no worries.
Go
Let's say
ahead.
you're on premise still, right? And you're not ready to move to the cloud, but you really want to have a failover plan, right? Or a backup plan, then we can set up Azure backups and Azure site recovery for you so you can sleep well at night, right? Knowing that if your servers go down, we'll bring it back in a matter of minutes. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can go on the next one.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Raphael. And guys that are joining us, I would love to just pose the question to you. How long is too long if your server was down? Just go ahead and throw it in the chat. How long is too long if it went out?
Right, right. Now, best practice number two, right? Security first, right? So this is a given nowadays, right? If you don't have multi-factor authentication, you're pretty available for cyber attacks, right? So enabling multi-factor authentication is something that Azure security requires for all users, right? So what does this look like in the real world, right? Let's say you have your company apps accesses, right? Then Microsoft Azure and Entra ID specifically will help you set up multi-factor authentication, MFA, right? So that even if another user has the credentials, if they don't have the device that you authorize, they will not be able to log into your resources, right? So that is an extra layer of security that Microsoft applies to you, right? Microsoft Azure always recommends using Active Directory for identity management, right? For instance, you want to give the owner role only to a person that will be the owner of a resource, right? And we go by the law of the minimum required role, right? So if a person doesn't need to have full control over a resource in Azure, then we do not give them the owner access. We may give them a viewer access or a collaborator access, but something that allows them to do the job they're required to do in the access, right? We also implement role-based access control, right? This is another layer of security, right? Where you give permissions for a specific use case for the Azure resources. Now, Azure automatically enables encryption at rest and in transit, right? So that means that your data is encrypted, right, when it's on the cloud. Also, some companies, especially the ones in the financial industry, right, or government contractors, they need Azure Key Vault for secrets management, right? So you want a place on the cloud, a safe vault on the cloud where you can store your passwords, your most delicate information, then Azure Key Vault is the place to go, right? Also, we recommend you to implement network security groups and firewalls. Those are something that it's pretty easy to implement in Azure, right? And this would add extra layers of security so you can be covered against cyber threats. Now, Azure Security Center allows you to do automatic security audits. So it will give you tips and recommendations based on what your security infrastructure is looking like. You can go on the next. Yes, best practice number 3, governance and compliance, right? So let's talk about resource organization, right? So you can set up management groups, subscriptions, and resource groups hierarchy. And let me give you some real life examples about this. So we have companies that maybe they acquired a couple of more companies, right? So they do separate subscriptions for each company. So they know exactly what each company is billing, right? Also, they set up resource groups in a way that only authorized people can access the resources. This allows you to, first of all, do your cost handling in a very efficient way, and also making sure that only the right person has access to the right resources. Now, Azure also has policy enforcement. Azure has some default policies, right? Those are industry standards for security, right? And compliance. For instance, if let me give you an example of a policy, right? If a person is trying to do multi-factor authentication, but they're using a new phone and not a phone registered with you, then it will give them an error. It will not let them log in, right? So that's protecting your company's assets from it. Now, cost management, right? You can set up budget alerts, right? That means that you set up a budget of $1,000 or $500, whatever fits your budget, right? If you go over that, Azure will send you an email letting you know, right? So that you can be aware of your costs, right? Azure has some very specific cost analysis tools. You have several filters. You can filter by month, by resource, by workload. There's a lot of filters you can do. So you can do cost analysis and find out about your pricing. And also you can set up resource quotas and limits, right? So that means that your resource will not go over unless you plan to. You plan to have them that way. Now, we also go to the compliance phase. There is a regulatory compliance dashboards, audit logs, and data residency, right? This means that you can always review what are the compliance policies for Azure.
Yeah. Thank you, Rafael. I know finance loves to hear about cost management. It's probably one of the biggest things. And then with those steps, I'd love to hear more about how small to medium businesses actually use Azure.
For sure. So we get in AppDirect, we get cases of all kinds, right? We get small, medium businesses. Also, we get big enterprise clients, right? Now, normally the challenges that small and medium businesses face are that they have legacy on-premise infrastructures, right? And high maintenance costs. Okay, so this means, to translate it, this means old servers, right? You got them 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and your IT guy has been patching them every month. right?
Yeah.
You pay for the electricity on those every month, and you spend man hours, right, to take care of these servers, right? Now, the solution Azure proposes is to migrate those to Azure virtual machines, right? And app services that will be working in the cloud. So that means that you will no longer have to worry about having the staff to patch the servers, have the operating system, and making sure that the lights are on, right? Making sure that the servers are protected, right? All of those costs, you are saving them by moving your resources to Azure. Then you can just focus on what matters, right? Which is growing your business, right? So that is one thing that I can mention about that. Let's go over the benefits that are achieved, right? Now, automated backups and disaster recovery in Azure are very cost effective, right? You'll be surprised, right? There are people that can back up a server for just around $20 to $30 a month, right? So it's pretty good to have a backup in the cloud in case something goes wrong. And as we all know, something always goes wrong when it comes to business and servers, right? You will
Yep.
not have to worry about replacing hardware every 5 to 7 years, right? And people report a 40% reduction in infrastructure costs. That means less money invested on physical maintenance, cooling and facility costs, and less staff required to maintain the servers, right? What do you think about this, Angie?
Oh, I think it's very interesting, especially when I get the call saying my server is not working, it's overheating, it's in the dusty closet. And I'm like, what are you wasting your time worrying about a server for? You have clients to worry about, you have day-to-day operations to worry about. And then I hear, of course, like my bullet point at the bottom, businesses spend $731 roughly a year running average power consuming servers. I mean, if you have two, if you have three, that's doubling your cost, tripling your cost on just having the server versus having it in the cloud. And then with that, that covers my small to medium business question. What about enterprise, Raf?
Right, right. So for enterprise, Azure excels at helping you scale, right? So if you do applications migrations, right? Now, big enterprise clients, they make their own apps, right? They have big apps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're a financial company, you make your own software to help your clients, right? Your own platform, right? So that's the challenge they're facing is that they have unpredictable cloud spending, right? And they don't optimize, so they get resource waste across multiple departments, right? Now, the solution that we offer is implement Azure cost management and also financial operations with automated policies, right? This is very similar to the example that I mentioned about small businesses, where let's say you have 5 servers for your apps, right? But you're off on the weekends, then they don't need to be at full capacity, right? You can reduce the capacity of the servers, right? So you save that money on the cloud, right? Now the benefits achieved is that you have global scalability, right? So if you need more service, it's just a matter of going to the Azure portal and creating the server, right? And you can set it up so if they have redundancy, right? If a lot of clients are logging to the same server at the same time, Azure can automatically create a copy of that server to give you double the power. That means that your clients will always be served, right? Of course, this needs to be configured, but it is possible with Azure, right? Now, they experience a 35% reduction in monthly cloud spend by going with Azure. And if they set up predictable budgets, they can get usage alerts and real-time cost visibility, right? Also, automated backups, those are big, especially for financial companies, right? Banks or government contractors, right? They need to make sure that everything is backed up automatically and it will be deployed automatically in case they get the signal that it's gone down, right? Also, disaster recovery is something big for right sizing and shutting down resources that are underutilized.
Yeah, especially when system administrators cost 85,000 a year, and that's just depending on the location where you're represented, what city you're in. These all play factors into maintaining your on-premise and maintaining your cloud spend. So let's keep going, shall we? I know about some real world examples and use cases. I'd love to hear what you got on that, Raphael. What do you think when it comes to AI and machine learning?
For sure, for sure. Nowadays, a lot of companies are trying to become agentic, right? They want to build agents for their business. That means, let's say I have a bakery. I want my clients to be able to chat with a customer service rep and ask questions about the business, right? What products you offer, what's the pricing, can you get me an order, right? All of this can be configured using Azure AI and machine learning, right? So this enables your organization to build intelligent applications, right? And also using custom models, right? For instance, we have Azure Cognitive Services, Vision, Speech, Language, and Decision APIs. Now, APIs is just a fancy word, right, for automated programs, right? But yes. Oh, we're getting a question.
Yeah, got a
I see a
question in the
question
chat.
from Scott. Let me take a look at it. Okay. So let's see.
Yeah. So he's asking, I have 4 locations and 2 servers. Wouldn't it cost more to back up all 4 locations with Azure versus just paying for 2 servers?
That's a pretty good question. I really appreciate the question. So yeah, now when it comes to backing up Azure, right? We are going by the name of the servers that we're by the number of servers we're backing up, right? So since you mentioned that even though you have 4 locations, but you only have 2 servers running in those 4 locations, we'll back up the servers and then all your 4 locations are covered, right? So if a server goes down, it will automatically be redeployed in the cloud. So yes, you are protected that way. Also,
Awesome.
yep. Also, I wanted to talk about machine learning, Azure machine learning, right? So, oh, my pleasure, Scott. My pleasure. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, guys,
So,
this is interactive, so feel free to drop questions in the chat. Don't be shy.
definitely, definitely, drop your questions. We can take a look at your real life examples, right? So, all right. So, machine learning, right? End-to-end machine learning lifecycle platform. I know this may sound confusing, but what this means is that Microsoft Azure gives you systems that are already pre-designed that you can use to make apps that use machine learning, right? You want to make an app that uses AI? We already did most of the work, then you just have to configure it in Azure. Now, the Azure OpenAI service, right? We need our apps to be intelligent or have some kind of AI implemented into it, right? So we use the latest GPT models for enterprise applications, right? That means that your chatbots will be able to give coherent answers, right? And answers that make sense, right? Now the Azure bot service, right? This is the most common everybody is trying to use conversational AI, right? So you don't have to predefine questions and answers that the client has to ask. No, you can just ask, okay, so what services are for the bakery example, for instance, right? So what is the top selling product you guys are offering? Then the chatbot can answer that. What are your business hours? The chatbot can give you a coherent answer on that. So yeah, this is for the AI.
Yep, and everyone's talking AI.
That's right.
And what about modern data analytics?
Very good, very good. So, all right. So Azure Synapse Analytics provides an integrated analytics service, right? And it combines data warehousing and big data analytics, right? And down below, it shows you some analytics services for the analytics pipeline, right? So the very first step is to ingest the data, right? So for that, Azure uses Azure Data Factory or Events Hub. Also, the storing part, it's people use Azure Data Lake Storage and Cosmos DB for databases. Also on the processing phase, right? They use Databricks or Synapse Analytics. And on the visualization part, they use they use Power BI or an Azure dashboard. Now, Power BI is transitioning to Fabric, so you can still use it, but it's now a cloud service, right? So you may see it as Fabric, because that's the name it's been rebranded to. So yeah.
Yeah. Microsoft loves keeping us on our toes when it comes to product names and new SKUs. So it's always good to be in the space and at least get your info from a reliable source, like your team here at Azure.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's talk a little bit about customer success, right? I mentioned in the presentation a couple of financial cases because we actually help banks in AppDirect. So I personally participated in a couple of engagements with banks, right? So now just to give you a success story, right? A Fortune 500 company leveraged AppDirect's Azure Marketplace to migrate 200 plus applications to the cloud, right? And this reduced procurement times from weeks to minutes. And they achieved 45% cost savings through centralized management, right? That means that AppDirect is willing to, as we say it in the IT environment, get your hands dirty, right, and do the work to move you. Even if you have complex environments, we will not shy away from doing the work. Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
some results, right? Some results about it. 95% faster provisioning, right? Cost reduction, and 200 plus apps migrated. So just imagine all the money that they saved in this company, right? And all the time and billable hours they saved from having to do it themselves.
Yeah. And that's not including the headache. We weren't able to get you a percentage on the amount of headache we reduced there, but
We
all
definitely
included.
can.
And then awesome. Thank you, Rafael. With that, I'd love to talk more about the Azure tools specifically. What does Azure build into its platform? How do we really secure with Azure? And what does that mean?
Yeah, definitely. So we have the Azure Security Center and Microsoft Defender, right? So as you know, right, Microsoft is the leading provider for identity management, right? And also security, right? So some of the key features that our threat protection can give you is unified security management, right? And for this, there is a continuous assessment, right? So there are Azure tools that give you real-time security posture evaluation, right? You can take a look at the secure score, right? These are tips that you get with recommendations to improve your security, right? We are leveraging AI to improve our advanced threat detection, right? We also have a compliance dashboard. Some companies need to be HIPAA compliant or have other kind of regulatory requirements, right? There is a dashboard you can access. Now there is the just-in-time access, right? So this is pretty easy to explain, right? Just-in-time access means that you get access to a resource when you log in and authenticate to use it, right? Before then, you are not given the access. So if a person wants to use a resource in Azure and they log in, they do their authentication, and they use it for 15 minutes, that's the only time they're going to have access. Once they log off, they stop having access to the resource. So this gives you extra protection for bad actors, right? For instance, let's say an employee got fired and they wanted to raise the whole company infrastructure before they go. This protects you from that, right? So I know you've seen cases online about that. They definitely didn't have these protections in place, right? Now you have security alerts, right? This is more of a 365 with purview, right? You can get prioritized alerts and remediation steps. So remediation, it's a fancy word to say, course of action, right? What steps do I need to take to fix the problem? That's remediation. So we can keep going. All right. So essential security tools, right? The Azure Key Vault, right? So it's a safeguard. It's a virtual key vault, literal key vault. It's virtual. It's on the cloud, and it's to safeguard cryptographic keys and secrets, right? Some services will ask you to generate a cryptographic key for access, right? So this is where you store them, and this gives you another layer of protection, right? So some examples are API keys, certificates, and passwords, right? Who doesn't want to have their password protected, right? Everybody.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk a little bit about DDoS protection, right? When we are in the cybersecurity world, DDoS is a very common word, right? It's a distributed denial of service attack, right? So Azure has you protected against those, right? By default, right? We're always monitoring, and there is automatic mitigation, right? Automatic. Now we have the Azure firewall, right? So just by having your resources in Azure, you have a cloud native network firewall, and it gives you security, right? So it filters traffic and it gives you application level protection, right?
Mhm.
Now, one that is very common is the Active Directory, right? It was recently rebranded to Enter ID. So as Angie said, right, we're always on our toes with the naming. So yeah, it's for identity and access management, right? So with these features, you can do single sign-on, right? That means that you create credentials for your employee and they can use them to sign up to multiple applications in your company, right? That means that you will not have to remember 5 or 6 different passwords if you use 5 or 6 different tools, right? We
Mhm.
also have multi-factor authentication and conditional access. This is very important, conditional access, right? Because these policies prevent you from having the wrong people access the wrong resources at the wrong time.
Yeah, keeping your organization safe inside, from who you want to have access and who you don't want to have access.
Exactly. Now, Azure Site Recovery, very popular, this service, right? So it's what it does is that it deploys replication, failover, right, and recovery of workloads to ensure business continuity during planned and unplanned outages, right? All right, so let's bring this to the real world, right? So your company, you have a website, right? Your website relies on a server giving information to it, right? And you don't want people from not being able to purchase your services just because your server went down for 4 hours, right? God forbid you don't have an in-house IT that can bring it back, and it's going to take days to recover your service, right? So Azure Site Recovery, if you have it set up right, the minute your site goes down, it's just going to take a few minutes to deploy your server again, right? That means that your operations don't have to stop, right? Just imagine if you are in the financial or medical industry, right, where everything is time sensitive. So this is very very ideal for that, right? So let's review some capabilities of the Azure Site Recovery, right? You can replicate virtual machines and physical servers, right? So this is for both use cases, right? If you already have your service in the cloud, you can replicate it, right? Let's say you have too many customers trying to buy at the same time, and your page would crash. Azure will replicate the server, so it gives you double the power, so they don't have to wait, right? Or your site doesn't have to get slow, right? Physical servers, maybe you're using something in-house, right? But you need a cloud backup, right? The minute that dies, Azure Site Recovery kicks in, right, and brings a cloud copy, so you can keep going, right? You can set up automated recovery plans. Also, you can do some non-disruptive disaster recovery drills, right? So you set up disaster recovery and you intentionally turn off your service to see if it works. You can give it a try and it will kick back in, right? Now, Azure to Azure replication, right? This is the replication, just like I explained earlier, right? We can create multiple VMs to provide for the needs if it's necessary, and you can have services from on-premises to Azure, right? So whether you are on your own company, you have your servers on site, or if you already have them in the cloud, we can help you that way.
Yeah. And Raphael, before you go through benefits, I want to re-ask my question, guys. How long is too long? An hour? A day? If it goes down for a week, is that the end of business? You're going to have shut down? How long is too long? Raphael, go ahead with the benefits.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, all right. Now to review this part, right? The recovery point of objective, right? That is how long it takes to recover, right? So it's as low as 30 seconds, right? If your server is not big, it can be back up in 30 seconds, right? Now, it also the recovery. Now, the time objective, right? You can set up objectives for the recovery, right? This can be done in minutes, right? So it doesn't have to be hours, right? You don't have to call your IT person in the middle of the night to go back to the office to turn it on again, to
Mhm.
troubleshoot, right? And this is cost effective, right? So you can have a predictable pricing for your disaster recovery solutions, right? Now, if your company is big, you will not need your own data center. You can have it in the cloud, right? And we have our service level agreement of 99.99%, which is essentially all the time, right? It's going to be on all the time available for you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Now, Azure Backup Solutions, very similar, right? Now, just to make the difference, right? Disaster recovery, it will create a virtual machine for you on the spot and deploy it so your service can keep going. And Azure Backup is different, right? It's maybe information that you don't want to have on physical drives. You can back it up in the cloud, right? So we have backup and restore capabilities, right? Let's say you want to back up your in-house infrastructure, right? And if it goes down, you just log into the Azure portal, you deploy the backup solution, right? And you can be up and running again, right? So a little bit different than disaster recovery. But yes, now backup options, right? You can back up Azure virtual machines, SQL servers that are inside of virtual machines. You can back up your files, right? Using Azure files. Now, for people that use SAP HANA databases, right? That's a pretty good option. And like I mentioned in the beginning, on-premise services, right? Servers. This is like the most common backup case that we get, right? Some companies are just not ready yet to move to the cloud, but they want to sleep. They want to sleep. They want to sleep right at night, right? They want to know that if something happens, their stuff is backed up, right? So Azure helps you with that. Now, some of the features are the automatic backup management, right? You have unlimited data transfer, so it doesn't matter if you're doing terabytes, right? It's gonna be fast, right? It doesn't matter how much data you have, you can back it up in Azure, right? You can configure multiple recovery points, right? So let's say you want to do a backup, a weekly backup of your infrastructure, or a monthly backup, or a yearly backup. We don't know exactly what your operation is, but we give you the flexibility of setting it up for the amount of weeks and days that you want to back it up, right? Do you want to back it up daily? This can be done as well. Everything, as long as it's configured, it can be done in Azure, right? Now, do you want your backups? If you didn't use them in 3 months, do you want us to delete them? Okay, that's fine. We'll delete them in 3 months. Do you want us to keep your backup for 1 year? We can do that as well. So we have short-term and long-term retention of the backups. And the encryption at rest and in transit, right? So encryption at the time the data is logged in into the backup, and also at the time that it's transferred. So everything is encrypted and it's protected with your cloud security.
Yeah. And then real quick, if you'd go through the solutions Aptera can do with Azure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So the most common is compute, right? People want to have their virtual machines, app services, Azure Kubernetes, right? Or they want to do storage, right? Using Blob or Azure files or databases, right? We have a lot of offerings on databases, from a regular SQL database or Cosmos DB, Postgres with SQL, and MySQL. So we are adapted to all kind of database languages that are there, right? With your AI and machine learning, right? We have the Azure Cognitive Services, machine learning, and OpenAI inside of Azure, right? For your security, we have the Azure Active Directory, now called Entra ID, right? Azure Key Vault and Security Center. And for our developers, right? There's integrations for GitHub, Azure DevOps, which is a reduced environment. It's price effective because it's cheaper than regular Azure, right? Because it's just for development purposes. So they can use Azure DevOps to develop their applications, right?
Yep. Awesome. And thank you, Raphael, because PI 101 supports AppDirect when it comes to Azure. We use AppDirect for our main key platform because it makes sense. AppDirect is the everything store. When it comes specifically to Azure, we'll help you find, buy, and manage all of your Azure services and third-party solutions within the environment. Unify that billing, automate the provisioning for you, give you license management, onboarding, offboarding employees, and centralized control over those subscriptions. And then, like you said earlier, cost optimization with real-time usage reports and tracking. And then, of course, that enhanced security that you went through with SSO integration with Azure. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. With AppDirect, the everything store, we provide a plethora of subscriptions and applications and operational expenses. So from energy to infrastructure, from hardware to software as a service, we're here to help. We got your back. And it's, of course, unbiased advice. We never, even though we're talking about Microsoft today, we won't suggest a solution that doesn't fit your needs. We want to help you where you want the help and where we can optimize it specifically for your use case, right? And that's all, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today to talk about Microsoft Azure. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. Throw them in the chat. I'll give everybody a minute. And while questions are coming in, Rafael, what I didn't hear us cover is how much would a migration cost? Let's say I have an on-premise server today and it's in the background, it's using a reasonable amount of data, it's tracking that kind of stuff. How much would it cost to just migrate that one server onto the Azure cloud?
Thank you for asking. Yeah, that's a pretty common question we get, right? So what's it going to cost to migrate? I've never done a migration. Well, we have a tool that is called Azure Migrate, and it's free of cost, right? So Azure provides that tool free of cost. If you want guidance, we can provide guidance, right? We can send you Microsoft documentation about how to perform the migration. Or if you want us to do the migration for you, we'll be happy to help you with our professional services team. So we got you covered on all fronts, right? Whether you want guidance, you want a free tool, or you want us to do it for you, AppDirect has your back.
Yeah, absolutely we do. And guys who are still with us, your next step would be schedule a one-to-one with me. Reach out to me. I'm your account manager. I'm your advisor here to help. And let's talk about how we can help, whether it's in the Azure environment, whether it's in your hardware or your energy procurement. I'm your gal. Send me a message. Let's connect. And if it's Azure related, I'll make sure Rafael is there to join us for the conversation. I don't see any other questions. I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a very productive week. If you haven't noticed, it was heart themed. Valentine's Day just passed. So if you did forget, I'm sorry for your wife or your husband. Too bad on their part, but it's not too late. Take them out this weekend. All right. Enjoy yourself and enjoy the rest of February. Have a great one, guys. Thank you so much for joining.